This is Linux Air Combat from late August of 2019, featuring version 7.82, which is it's essentially feature complete now. The later versions tweak a detail here and there, and most of the differences have to do with management of mumble. But this one is a full-featured, robust Linux Air Combat, and we generally gather on Thursday evenings. This is one of those Thursday evening online internet gatherings. Instead of running my Linux Air Combat in full screen mode as I normally do, this time I decided to shrink it down enough so that I could also see the mumble panel in its JSON. And you see that area you see on the left is a view into our mumble communications application. So you can see the names of the players, the channels they're using, and their activities they transmit, etc. Here you can see I shut down PH Chief. I'm flying here as Lincoln in my trusty P38. The other two players are Blake and Chief. However, their naming is a little bit inconsistent and complicated here. Blake is flying as player number 1 in a computer named Van Buren, and he's known in Mumble as Van Buren.
All right, Blake, I'm coming in for landing right behind you.
Chief is playing as player number 3, showing up in Mobile as BH Chief, and in my computer he's identified as 00000. You'll see that on the cockpit that way when I select him as a target. All three of us had flown enough of Linux Air Combat that we could be considered as veterans, but I guess Chief hadn't set up his community handle yet. We were flying Mission Network Battle 01 in the beautiful island terrain, whose purpose is to destroy one of those airfields where there are times replay aircraft in Mission Network Battle fighter versus fighter conflict. Chief was excited to help us debug and exercise the Russia's infamous Sturmovik tank killer. This is a heavy attack aircraft, heavily armored, designed to take on German tanks. It has a lot of armor, and it's really rugged. He was using it to try to attack my airfield. It's not very maneuverable, however, and in combat, it's no match for a P38, so he was relying on Blake to defend him.
Wow, Chief, that Sturmovik is really rugged. I poured a lot of shells into it to shoot it down, and it was dangerous flying that low to come after you. I was afraid I would hit the water.
I just have trouble climbing when I have damage.
Okay, I've just taken off from Blue HQ in my heavy P38, headed west. Continuing my commentary here, you can hear me selecting different targets, those beeps things.
I'm on your tail, Blake.
I've got war emergency power, I'm doing an inland turn, and I can just barely make it over the top of the inland at these low speeds. I was thinking about dropping flaps, but it turned out to be not necessary. Against target selection there. Look at my radar. Can you see that red diamond? That's a bomber. That'll be BH Chief in his Sturmovik. Straight ahead of me now as I head east toward their airfield. I've got 10 rockets armed.
See Lincoln. Well, I think. I don't. No, that's a bot.
Blake was on the radio there. A little confused about bots versus real targets. So I'm headed east with full load of rockets and bombs trying to target their airfield, but I can see I'm going to overfly Chief coming in here, so I decided to target him. When I get closer, see me take a few shots, risking a head-on here with him. Those beeps? Because he's in a bomber, he's got a tail gunner.
I need your help now.
Those beeps come because I'm near his tail gunner and he's targeting me. Every time the computer logic targets me with a defensive gun, whether it's from an aircraft or a airfield, I get a beep like that. Climbing to attack altitude. I really shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm headed east in my P38, a little under 1,000 feet of altitude. Sometimes I'm kind of a blabbermouth, but I like to be friendly with people. There's the enemy airfield ahead. I'm picking up speed and diving. Rockets are armed. I like to disgorge my rockets first, which you can hear. I've got 10 rockets. There they go. And then, after my rockets are all gone, I'll drop my bombs, looking straight down. There's 2 bombs, headed for the airfield. Now turn away, let's get out.
Before my bombs hit the runway. Sorry, that was not a successful run.
Taking damage from their anti-aircraft fire. And turned west, headed home. Now there's beeps, that's Chief firing rockets at me. He was following me in. Couldn't catch me, but there, you saw he hit me with guns, and notice, ouch. I took a lot of damage. I'm heavily damaged here. My
I hurled all my missiles at you.
I've got 52% damage and my engines are very weak now. I don't know if I can make it back home.
I had everything going. I tried to drop a bomb on you when you went underneath me.
That's funny.
Enemy airfield has ACAC strength between 70 and 80% now.
So I pressed F12 to check the enemy ACAC strength, and I can see I did some damage, or I can hear that I did some damage to them, but not a lot. Now, I'm in a dangerous situation here. I'm heavily damaged. If I take any more bullets, I'll go down. But looking at radar, I'm headed home. Looks like Chief is following me, but his airplane's a little slower than mine. Even when I'm this damaged, I might be able to outrun him, so I decided to risk it and head home because I really need those repairs. I can see my airfield in the distance here. Behind me, Chief is far enough back that I don't see him. But I do hear his radar sweep, feel his beep. That beeping, that means he's within radar range. He could possibly target me. But I'm just barely probably out of his gun's range. I'm coming in kind of fast here. 213 miles an hour is too fast to drop landing gear. But I want to get over my own airfield where there's ACAC protection. Now to slow down, I chop my throttle and raise my nose. I'm going to get slower and slower. I decided to do a loop over. When I get slow enough, I'll drop all my flaps. There's my flaps coming down to level 4. When I get under about 140 miles an hour, I can drop my landing gear. And at that low speed, I'll risk a loop under. I don't want to crash into the ground. There's my landing gear coming down. I'll do a violent loop under, try to loop down without hitting the ground, back up there. I made it. Now, aiming for the airfield. Looks like Chief didn't want to risk my ACAC. Maybe he was too damaged to risk that, so he's pulled off. So I have a clear shot at my airfield now. Airfield altitude is 48 feet. You see me dropping below, approaching at 70 feet, 60 feet, 50 feet. Landing gear down, flaps down there. I've landed. Now I have a lot of damage. Notice I'm going to be refueled. My fuel builds up quickly. Whew, I made it. Just barely survived enough to land. But I have quite a bit of damage, so it takes my air crew quite a while to repair all this damage. Notice it's counting up at 37%, 36, 34%, 33%. My damage is going down. When it gets to 0, I'll be fully repaired and rearmed.
I would say their ACAC strength is 80 or 90% of normal.
Again, I pressed F12 to check their ACAC strength, and they're at least 90%, or at least 80% of their ACAC is still functional. So I hit them. They're maybe as much as 20% damage in that last attack.
If you want to loiter and wait for me, let me know.
That's Chief talking to Blake.
I'm just gonna go make a run for it.
Notice that when
Take as much as I can.
When Blake talks, you can see the receiving icon on my mumble panel because Blake is using push to talk. I had to wait to get refueled and rearmed and a lot of repairs, but I'm up again now. I'm using push to talk too, so you can see that in the mumble panel when I narrowcast. Chief sometimes uses voice activation, in which case you don't see anything on our mumble panel. Okay, I've taken off again. I'm headed west, which is away from the bad guys, so I have to turn around. I'll build up the speed.
7.
And I'll need flaps to get over the top here. I'm going slow enough. With full flaps, the P38 can perform a loop over at amazingly low speed, so that's what I did there. Retracted my flaps. I got Warrior Emergency power on. I'm trying to gain speed and altitude. Notice I've got bombs armed. So I'm linking 2 bombs and 10 rockets. My airplane is flying heavy right now. Won't climb real well. But I'd like to target their airfield at this point. Somebody coming in. I'm shooting at, that's Blake flying down here. And we hit each other. So he damaged me badly. I don't know how badly I damaged him, but notice I've got like 33% damage, something like that. It's hard to read. But so he's going for my airfield. I'm going to try to shoot him down. Mwahahaha. Okay, that was satisfying. My victories counter shows that I've now got 2 scouts. I've got Chief once and Blake once. But I'm damaged enough I'm going to have to land. Blake damaged me too much to attack again, so he bought his team some time versus my attacks. Looks like Chief is there too. I've targeted Chief, and he's near me. He's too close for me to risk landing. I can't remember exactly what's happening here. selecting targets, target select. You can see the white dot on my radar indicates my selected target, and that's Chief. He's probably still in another Stromovic. Oh, there he is.
Blake, you're okay? Do you need help?
Okay, I'm damaged, but I've got enough, my engine's still got enough power to sustain 1 emergency power, so I'm going to take the shot at Chief. He's too close to me to risk landing here. There, he damaged me some more. He's got a tail gunner. He's in a heavy German bomber, ME-110. Which has a tail gunner. That's why you're hearing those radar sweeps. The beep beep. He's got an altitude advantage, but that airplane isn't really really can't maneuver with me. It doesn't have the kind of power to perform with a P38. But Chief is getting a good account of himself in that heavy fight. That was a good pass. Is that an ME-110?
It was.
No match for a P38. Although I did take a goodly amount of damage there. You hit me. I really shouldn't have just dismissed that ME-110. It actually was a very powerful fighter, just, not very maneuverable. I've got to return home for repairs.
All right, Blake.
So now I'm targeting my own airfield, headed home, moving really fast, so I got to burn off some speed. I'm throttling way back, lifting my nose to slow down.
I would say their ACAC strength is 80 or 90%.
I hit F12 again and to check the enemy airfield ACAC strength, and they're somewhere over 80% ACAC strength. There, slow enough now to lower my flaps. I got 4 levels of flaps. My nose still, I'm flying upside down but climbing to get slow enough to drop my landing gear. I'll press G when I'm happy with my speed and loop under. There's my airfield up ahead. Landing gear coming down, flaps are already down. Ideally, I like to cross the tarmac at about 100 miles per hour. I might be a little bit hot this time. Again, the altitude of my airfield is 48 feet, so I'll try to stall just above that level. Goose my throttle a little to get in. And I'll raise my nose a bit as a flare and stall it on, scooping it down. That was good. Okay, now I've got 3 scouts. I claim 3 victories. Okay, I'm down, but it's going to be a while. I've got a lot of repairs to make.